Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sarvesh. I'm the founder and CEO of Internshala, India's largest internship and fresher job portal, and the platform on which young India gets its first break. I'm delighted to welcome you to this exclusive session brought to you by Internshala in collaboration with HCLTech. Whether you are preparing for placements, exploring career opportunities in technology, or simply trying to understand what companies expect from freshers, you are at the right place today. The engineering job market is evolving rapidly, and students often find themselves wondering questions like what does it really mean to be industry ready? What do companies look for in freshers? What skills matter the most? What should I really learn and prepare myself for? And how can students prepare themselves for a long term career success, not just for clearing interviews? To help us answer these questions, we have an exceptional industry leader with us today. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Prasath Panneerselvam, Director and Head of Campus Relations at HCLTech. Prasath, I'll give you a detailed introduction to you later, but first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Prasath brings over 22 years of experience in the IT industry and currently leads HCLTech's strategic campus hiring and university engagement initiatives. His work focuses on building skill-first talent pipeline and helping bridge the gap between academic learning and industry expectations. Over the course of his career, he has worked across HR strategy, HR transformation, HR technology transformation, compliance, M&A integration, global policy management, and large-scale talent programs. He has also spent 7 years managing HR operations at different HCLTech offices in the United States, thus bringing a global perspective into workforce dynamics and talent development. He holds an MBA in HR and Industrial Relations from Madurai Kamraj University, has specialized in HR management at Duke University, and is also an SHRM SCP certified professional. With this extensive experience in nurturing and hiring young talent, he is uniquely positioned to help students, the audience of today, understand what it takes to build a successful and future ready career. So, Prasad, welcome once again to the session. Very excited to have you with us today.
I'm equally excited to interact with the students. Thank you.
Right. Before we get started, I would like to encourage everyone to make it a very interactive session. If you have any questions for Prasad or for HCLTech, then please drop them in the chat panel that you see in front of your screen. I'll pick them up towards the end of this session, and I'll try to see if Prasad can answer as many of them as possible. Also, there's a very interesting surprise for all the audience towards the end of the session. So I would request all of you to stay till very end. If you leave midway, it will be your loss, right? It's a very interesting surprise for you at the end of this session. So please stay till the very end. With that, let's get started. Prasad, to set the context for everyone joining us today, I would like to begin with a broad question. What's genuinely changing in the early engineering careers today? And what should students stop assuming will work the way it did earlier? So what's really changing in the early careers today?
Yeah, I think what is genuinely changing is the definition of employability, right? See, in Indian market, degrees, marks, eligibility criteria still matter because especially in campus hiring, that's the first step in terms of you getting into the job, right? Or getting into the assessments. But they are now only for a starting point, right? And it's been there for quite some time, but it's becoming even more closer that these are only considered as a starting point and not complete proof of job readiness. Now, companies are increasingly asking, these questions: Can this student learn fast, solve problems, communicate clearly, use technology responsibly? That's another important trait they're looking at. Can they use technology responsibly? Are they using AI as an assistant or as a as a full-time end user, right? Are they applying knowledge in real work situations? These are the questions which are being probed, right? Another major shift is this: hiring is becoming more skill-based and experience-backed. I know, don't panic. We are not looking for experienced people, but what it means that students is not. It's now being assessed. They are looking more in detail into their projects, right? If you say something in your profile, they're going to look at it and they're going to see what is the experience that you've had in terms of doing that project, right? You are now using GitHubs, and there are a lot of various avenues where we can go see how experienced you are, how interesting the projects are, right? Another change we are looking at is also the assessment models are changing, right?
Okay.
Recruiters are moving beyond traditional tests. They started using scenario-based evaluation, hackathons, bot-based assessments, practical problem solving. While these are there for a long time, but more and more recruiters have started using it. So there's a change in the assessment pattern as well.
Okay.
Now, I think another important thing is students should stop assuming that a degree alone will open doors, right? The last minute preparation will not work, right? Companies will train them. They can't expect the company will train them from zero. Companies will train them, but the students have to arrive with basic readiness. So in short, the shift is from qualification only hiring to qualification plus capability plus practical exposure plus learning agility. That's the plus which are getting added, and that's the major shift which is happening in the industry.
I'm so glad to hear the term practical exposure, because that's where I think most of the project building, experiential learning, internships, all of them come into the play. You use a word called job readiness, and I think this term is used so widely in the industry. But for a fresher, it's a very confusing term, right? What do you really mean when you say student is industry ready? What is or job ready? What does it actually look like in reality? What should I have on my resume, or what should I have in me for you to say, "Ha, Sarvesh is industry ready"?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me tell you what it is not, right? Industry ready is not knowing every technology. If industry ready is knowing every technology, even the experienced professional will have to do a certification every Monday. That's not what we're expecting, right? To me, industry ready is a shift, right? It's a mindset shift, right? You shifting from a classroom thinking to a workplace thinking. Now, let me expand that. So, in a college, what happens is the problem is usually well defined, and everybody knows there is one answer. The syllabus is known, the question paper has marks allocated. You
Correct.
even have choices to choose which question you want to answer.
Understand.
And you also have an option of this is not in my syllabus and you get marks for it, right? But in workplace, problems do not arrive with unit numbers, hints, or model answer or a practice test, right? Workplace thinking means being able to understand the task, ask the right questions, take ownership, learn quickly, deliver responsibly. I think I've said too many things here. So let
Right.
me repeat that, right? You need to ask the right questions, right? You just can't go in and just wait for others to come and talk to you. You need to be prepared like that, right? An industry ready person usually asks questions, get clarity in terms of what he wants to deliver, and he delivers responsibly, right? It's not about knowing everything on day one. It's about being dependable enough to say, you know what, I may not know this fully yet, but I will figure it out, make progress, and keep you updated. Let me give you an example, right? A fresher given a small bug to fix, an industry ready student will not quietly wait for the bug to fix in itself, right? They will understand the issue, check for the code, ask for clarification if needed, try a solution, test it, and give you updates. So, in short, industry ready is not about knowing every answer. It's about
Approach.
knowing how to understand the problem, take ownership, learn fast, and deliver with responsibility.
Right. I think another key difference between classroom and industry is in class you pass with 60% marks. In industry, you can't say I did this 60% project and I'm a first grade student.
Absolutely.
It's 100%. Either it's zero or one. The outcomes are binary in industry. They're not 60% or 30% as we see in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And in terms of building this mindset, because this is actually a big transition from classroom to industry, right? And because in classroom we are used to being taught, given a syllabus, answer question based on syllabus and all of that, and then the industry expects something for us to take ownership, understand problems that are not encountered before, find a way to solve them, and then keep the stakeholders in loop, etc. So there's quite a bit of shift in like a person from within a short span of time. So how does one get industry ready? What can I really do as a student today, about to graduate in 2027, which is 1 year from now? What should I really do today to build this mindset and get this industry ready? What are the few things that I can do?
I think, see, it's simple, right? I think you need to shift that mindset that you have today. Start shifting that mindset you have today and start thinking about how you want to deal with even with simple like problems, right? You take ownership and start delivering it, and take that responsibility in terms of delivering it, even in small things, right? I mean, there is technology and there is day-to-day life that you do, right? Make that shift, right? See, I think uh, there's something called muscle memory, right? I think you need to see how you can bring that process as a muscle memory, so that it is easier when you come, and it'll be the transition will be much easier. Now, let's say, for example, you're in the second year or the third year, you are given assignments, right? It's always that we submit at the last moment, right? And for exams, we prepare at the very last
Last
day,
night. Yeah.
and the overnighter, and ask for divine blessings, right? Unfortunately, that's not going to happen when you come into the industry, right? So take things seriously and start practicing whatever we spoke about, right?
Right.
How can you take ownership? How can you ask for help wherever it's required? I think the biggest challenge we have today is also uh, these students don't ask for help, right? They feel that everything is available. I will not go talk to my senior and ask for help. So I think these are small things that you should start doing right from what you do, be it assignments, be it preparation for exams, or be it your personal work. You should start slowly doing it so that transition will be easier.
Right. So for all the students listening in, please take your assignments and projects very seriously, because those are the closest simulation of the real world.
Yeah.
Not the classroom lectures and the exams, but the assignments and projects. And if you really building one serious project over next 1 year would perhaps prepare you for the industry far better than cramming for those five, six exam papers. Is that the right way to think about it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. And we spoke about how students can become industry ready. On the flip side, what are the common mistakes that you see students make that weaken their chances even before the interview?
Yeah, I think that's again to do with discipline, right? I think one major mistake I see is poor preparation discipline, right? Some students prepare like for placements at the last moment, right? The college will be, I whatever colleges I spoke to, they start the preparation for the placements as early as first year, and some in second year, but they don't take it very seriously. They take it very lightly, and they say, I mean, I have 2 more years. Let me wait for the final year. I'll anyway get a crash course and get things done, right? So that should not happen, right? I think your preparation should start, ideally from the second year. First year is still fine, but
Okay.
second year you should start the preparation, and you should have a plan in place, right? The second mistake is having a resume which is very impressive, created by AI, and not knowing anything about it, right? That's a big red flag for a recruiter, right? Don't do that mistakes. If you put anything in your resume, you should ensure you know that, back in black and white, and don't put anything which you don't know, because that's a very big red flag. So make it very clear. Third mistake, weak communication. Uh, while this has been a very common feedback
Yeah.
that people get, communication is important, right? Communication is not talking in slang, you using a slang, and having a
Excellent.
very high quality English, right? Communication is common sense, right? You need to be able to articulate what you have built, right? That's as simple as that. That's another mistake they do. They talk about they talk good English, but when it comes to articulating their skills, or the project they did, they're not able to do that, right? So that's very important. Another important mistake, which I feel the students should correct, is that they treat aptitude, coding, and communication as separate subjects, right? In a way, if you really look at why do the companies do it, right? I think it's all interrelated. It may happen in various time frame, but when you prepare as if it's all same, right?
Okay.
Because the aptitude builds logical thinking, right? Coding converts that logic into a solution, and communication helps the student explain that solution with confidence. That's
Correct.
the whole idea of this whole grind of aptitude, coding, and communication, right? So if I were to give an example, right, in an interview, solving a coding problem is not enough, right? The students should also be able to explain the approach, the logic, and the edge cases, and why the solution works, right?
Correct.
So that's when the interviewer understands, right? Then this guy is not giving layman answer, but he's giving a very detailed answer, right? So, in simple terms, aptitude helps you think, coding helps you build, communication helps
Explain.
others trust your thinking, right? So, all of this is important. So, please ensure you don't do these mistakes. Have nice preparation. Have a very good resume which is impressive and honest. Do not think that communication is talking flashy English. Communication is more than that, and practice all of this aptitude, coding, and communication together so that you get a grind of it.
Now, I really loved how you explain what communication is and what it is not. Because a
Yeah,
lot of people think that communication is about the language skill, but in reality, it is about to explain what you've done and why you were done. So I think, and which is goes back to the point that you made about the resume being AI prepared versus something which has just substance. Only when you have built something with substance and you applied your thinking on it, you will be able to explain this clearly to an interviewer or anybody else, and that's where communication skills shine. It's not about the language; it's about ability to communicate what you built in a very clear terms that then somebody who's new to this project can understand.
absolutely.
And you also spoke about having a very good resume, right? So, what does a good resume look like from a recruiter's lens? What does make a resume? What makes a resume immediately credible, and what are the red flags in a resume? You spoke about AI polished resume, but maybe you could be more specific. What is good and what is bad?
Yeah, I think a credible resume is something which is very clear at the first place, right? It has to be clear in terms of articulating it. What are the broad areas that you cover, right? And it's a standard template, right? You talk about your objective and other stuff, right? Now, it has to be honest, right? It has to be honest till the end, whatever word you've written there, right? Uh, Most importantly, it should be evidence based, right? If you say that I've worked on a project, it is always good to say that I've published in so and so page, and you can have a look at it at the link. So that's going to be
Proof of
really a
work.
good resume, which is evidence based, right? Recruiters look for projects that are explained well, right? You just can't write English in this, right? You'll have to explain it well. Skills that match the project work, right? If you've done a project on certain things and you write a different skill, that's not good, right? Now the red flags, if you see, it's easy to spot, right? They would have written too many technologies, but they would have not done any work on those technologies, right? Whatever the projects they have done would have been opposite to the technology. That's a clear red flag, right? Copied project description. We use AI, and it easily gives us, if there's a copied resume, it's going to trash you, right? Exaggerated claims, right? And I've done this. I've kind of launched a rocket and all that stuff. Let's make it simple and honest, right? Spelling errors, as simple as spelling errors, that should be avoided, right? And unclear timelines. If you've done a project, you need to be very clear on the timelines. If it's unclear, it's a red flag, right? Most importantly, if the resume looks very impressive and that candidate is not able to answer one basic question, that's an immediate red flag. It's easy for us to find out that this whole resume is not written well, right? So in short, a good resume should not shout. It should simply prove I've learned, I've built, and I can explain.
Yeah.
The last part is very important.
Correct. I think I see a very common theme in all your answers so far, that I have learned, which is learning agility. I have built, which is practical exposure, and I can explain. I think this is essentially what the real world is also all about. That being able to learn something that is new to you, being able to build using that knowledge, and being able to explain how you built and what choices you made. I think this is coming as a recurring theme in your messages, in your all your answers so far.
And Sarvesh, that's important, right? I think the more I repeat, the more it is important, right? I think we're trying to create this major mind shift among the students, so that the more I repeat, the more they get into the mind. And probably I'll keep repeating till I
Yeah.
complete the answers
Yeah.
for
So
our
learning
listeners.
agility, a real project, and explain that really well. I think
Exactly.
if students ace these three things, they are sorted.
Absolutely.
And this can't be done overnight. This can't be done
Absolutely.
overnight. This has to be done over a period of time, multiple times maybe, so that you really become proficient at it. And I was thinking about you spoke about shallow projects or projects that are very copied projects. And I remember back in our days when I was studying engineering, everybody would write library management system as a project they built using Java, right? And that is such a common project that everybody talks about, right? And now I think about it that in today's time, when there's so many interesting problems around us, right, and that a student can pick up and solve using technology, then there's no need for such standard projects to be part of your resume. You really need to be building as close to real life project as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Uh, the other question that I want to talk about is something which is an elephant in the room, which is fear of AI. Right. A lot of people are speculating whether software engineering is even a career worth making, given the rapid advancements in AI and how the entry-level software jobs will get eliminated. So, what is your take on AI's impact on software engineering jobs, and how should students prepare for a future where AI is not a competitor but a colleague, which is reality, right? And
Yeah.
how does it change the expectations that companies like HCLTech have from freshers in terms of skill set or attitude?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. It's a tough one. I'll try and see if I can do justice to that question. So, see, today, if you ask me, is AI taking the jobs away? I don't see any evidence of it taking jobs away, right? I think it is only increasing productivity. Now, how can students train for an AI-ready career, right? I think it is simple, right? They'll have to practice three things together, right? First is the fundamentals. That's very important. Next is the AI usage in itself, right? The fluency, AI fluency, what we call. And third important thing is validation, right? Let's expand this, right?
Okay.
The basics is important, right? I think more and more usage of AI. I spoke about responsible usage of AI. People think that fundamentals are not required because AI is here. That's a very wrong thing to do, right?
Why do you say
Coding
that?
logic, because see, you need to have that fundamentals to understand what AI is given, right? I mean, you just can't blindly take what is AI giving and then go implement it, right? That's very dangerous, right? So the basics is important. I'm talking more on programming languages, but any subject, any stream you're in, basics is very important, right? Your coding logic, problem solving, data structures, database, core concept, all of this is very important for you to understand
Understand what AI is
what the
doing.
AI is giving. Second, they should use AI as a learning partner, right? You should become an AI assisted thinker, not as an AI user, right? For
Wow.
example, after writing code, they can ask AI to review it, suggest improvements, explain errors, right? But you write the code, but use AI to improve it and understand the whole thing, right? So that's the second thing, right? Third thing, validation, right? Student must validate whatever AI products, right? If AI generates code, they should run it, debug it, test edge cases, understand every line, and improve it, right? So if you combine all of this, it is easy, right? I think today, whatever companies are going to use AI on is based on these principles. So fundamentals have to be good. You'll have to ensure you use AI as a learning partner, and whatever AI produces, you should critically question and validate it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me, will fresher like codes? Yeah, maybe not to an extent of what was happening in the past. They will still write codes, but the focus will shift from understanding, reviewing, debugging, testing, and owning the final output.
Yeah.
That's the shift which is happening, right?
Yeah.
Now, in short, AI can write fast, but students must think, test, take responsibility, because AI gave it is not a valid interview answer.
Answers. Yeah. Yeah. I think I really love the phrase AI assisted thinker. I think it's a very, very powerful phrase. It sort of changes the frame from AI being a competitor to AI being an assistant.
Yeah.
That's very important. And I think if you can use AI to improve your work and your quality of thinking, that's a superpower that you're unlocking. This comparison also reminded me of how just because calculators have been invented, we are not stopped learning maths, right? We still learn maths.
Absolutely.
Nobody said that you can stop learning maths because now calculators have been invented. So maybe it's the same example where just because AI can write code doesn't mean that the fundamentals of programming are no longer important.
Yeah, I think, see, just extend that, today AI is helping increase productivity, right? So let's say if there was a developer who usually creates one feature a day, now with AI he can create 2 3 features, right? So this logic in itself is going to create a lot of work, right? I think now the client is going to have a lot of value in him. Things are going to improve. There's a lot of things which client are not able to solve today, which will be solved using AI, and we need human beings with fundamental basic knowledge to use AI, take that judgment call, ensure that the AI is not biased, identify all the hallucination. So we are going back to an era where we need a lot of human beings with their traits of thinking, knowing fundamentals, empathize. All
Yeah.
this is going to come back.
In fact, I was reading a LinkedIn post to somebody in a funny way. He said maybe the most of the jobs will be created to clean up the messy code that AI has shipped, and nobody's bothered to review and ship without reviewing. And now
Yeah,
the cleanup of that mess is going to require a lot of people, and a lot of jobs will get created there.
yeah, absolutely.
I think we are almost midway of the conversation. It's a good opportunity for me to remind the audience that if you have any questions for Prasath at HCLTech about how you should prepare for your placements, what's going to happen in the job market, and about HCLTech's hiring process, etc., I think it's a good time. You can start typing those questions in this comment panel that you see in front of you, and I'll take as many of them towards the end as I can. Prasad, the placement season is around the corner, right? Class of 2027 will start appearing for placements from July onwards, right? So in next 6 to 8 weeks, what should students do every week or every day to become meaningfully stronger and meaningfully industry ready and not just interview ready?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you've not started early, I think it's not too late. You still have time, right? I'm just going to repeat again, right? Let me reiterate what you need to do, right? So you divide your preparation into 4 broad tracks, right? One is the aptitude, coding, communication, and project storytelling. I think we spoke about it in detail in the past, in the previous questions. I'm not going to delve into it. So split into these 4 tracks: aptitude, coding, communication, project storytelling, right? Every week, I think you should solve aptitude problems, practice coding consistently, revise the core engineering fundamentals, whatever you've studied, revise that, and speak aloud about your project, until you can explain it clearly. Now, what is explaining it clearly? If you are able to make your grandmother or grandfather understand what your project is, that's what is explaining clearly. I don't want you to explain a project to a project manager or an expert. I want you to explain the project to a layman so that they can understand. That's very difficult, right? If you can do that only if you have that confidence, only if you've done that project yourself, only if you have the kind of skill that you have in terms of articulation, right? So that's very important. So you do this, right? I'm saying do all together, right? Every week, do 4 of this: aptitude problem solving, practice
Totally.
coding consistently, revise core engineering fundamentals, speak
And
about the project, right? And next is the mock test, right? Under pressure timeline, right? Don't give test not by timing, because that pressure of taking a test with time is something you need to grow over, right? I think it is not going to be easy for you. The moment the pressure kicks in, your brain blocks out. So,
correct.
because placement performance is not only about knowledge, it's also about being how composed you are, right? So please do the mock test under time pressure. That's going to help, right? So if I were to give you an example, right? The first week, you can take, to solve 50 aptitude questions, right? Practice 10 coding problems and revise 1 core subject topic, right? In 1 week, do all of this and record a 2-minute explanation of the project, right? That's going to help you retrain as well. Recording yourself, it gives you a lot of inputs about what you've done. So you do this every week. By end of 6 weeks, you will have a good understanding of how the assessment is working and how you can attend the interview with confidence. So do this, and you should be able to be ready by 6 to 8 weeks.
I think this is the shortest and the most impactful placement prep crash course, if I can call it, in under 2 minutes that I think we have given to the students. Very, very valuable. I think the advice that maybe do the interview practice with your grandfather, grandmother, if you can explain the project to them, then you'll explain this to an interviewer also. I think this is a very valuable advice, and I think our students will find a lot of merit in this advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Prasad.
Sure.
I want to move closer to the HCL Tech and its thought process behind hiring and what does it look for, etc. First question is obviously when HCL Tech looks for early talent, when you hit campuses, right? What capability signals do you trust the most?
Yeah, I think again, I'll be repeating some of this, right? I think these trust signals that shows future potential, right? Because we are hiring freshers to solve future problems, not current problems, right? So it is not just past marks. We look at problem-solving ability, coding fundamentals, communication, learning ability, whatever we spoke, right? That's very important. Another important thing we look at, we value seriousness, right? How students attend training sincerely, right? The model that we are hiring currently is that we are offering the students, we are assessing the students first, and then we are training them at college. The training will involve lab sessions and they going through training of a curriculum which is designed by us. Once they successfully clear that, there are other hurdles that they'll have to clear, and then they get to work for HCLTech. So we value seriousness there, right? I think students should attend the training sincerely, take feedback positively. We will give you feedback, take it positively, complete the labs which are assigned to you, improve through practice, right? All this is very important, right? So for early talent, the best signal is not I know everything, right? The best signal is I'm capable, coachable, and committed to growing. That's what we are looking at.
3 C's: capable, coachable, and
Committed to growing.
Okay.
3 C's.
And how do you assess these three things: capable, coachable, and committed? And like I understand they take the training seriously, lab seriously, but that's all post hiring decision has been made, right?
Yeah, I think
How do you assess capable, coachable, committed pre-hire?
that's a good question, right? I'd say, see, the hiring is also now becoming experiential. We spoke about it during the earlier questions. What is experiential hiring, right? Now, we are wanting to just not go and hire one day, have one interview, and select that person and make them join us, right? So I have explained the process, right? Where we have a training, there'll be evaluations as part of the training. And you are given a real life like situation in terms of solving the problem, right? The whole experiential process helps us get this evaluated, right? Capable is the assessment, initial assessment, whatever. Coachable, during training, how do you react and how committed, and then you attending the labs and doing what is required to do is showing commitment. So it's that experiential hiring which helps us get these 3 C's addressed.
Okay, understood. And you spoke about skill first hiring. That is commonly becoming the language of the recruiters across the board. The students are hearing a lot these days in campuses. How does HCL Tech's AMP program translate this philosophy into a fair and structured early career opportunity? And how is it different from traditional models?
Yeah, good that you touched on that model. I think AMP is something which we've launched late last year. It is designed to make early career opportunities more skill-based and transparent, right? I think instead of treating every fresher as same, what AMP does is basically what AMP means is Ascend, Momentum, and Polaris. These are the 3 categories where we hire people for. These are all different levels of capability, right? With this, you can unlock the offer your talent truly deserves, right? So what it does is it gives you opportunity to apply for a role. Everybody applies for this Ascend role, right? based on your performance during the assessment process of Ascent, we pick people who are touch above than others, and they are given the opportunities to upgrade themselves for the momentum and Polaris categories, right? So what it makes is it's fair is that student gets an opportunity to demonstrate their skills through assessment, technical evaluation, hackathons, and it's not college specific, right? We don't say that only these colleges. With all the partner colleges, we are launching this, right? We're not saying that it's only applicable for, let's say, high-end colleges, NRI frank colleges, IITs, NITs. This is common for all our partner colleges. They get equal chance to go up here and get this, right? So that's the way, that's something which we have tried to be transparent. If you go look at your careers page, you will know the salaries, what we give for Ascent, Momentum, and Polaris. It will also talk briefly about what's the process. So we are trying to build a fair and a transparent process where talent is recognized and rewarded based on their capabilities.
So you're saying this sounds like a truly hiring model which is not based on pedigree but actually proof and skills, because everybody having an equal opportunity to join Ascent is sort of fair, and everybody has a level playing field. Everybody's starting at the same level, and from that point onward, it's your performance and it's your skill that will catapult you into the next level of momentum or Polaris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that brings a lot of clarity on how capability and potentials are evaluated at HCLTech. And then obviously, HCL, when you talk about HCLTech, the phrase "find your spark" is everywhere, right? And I think while it's a very powerful clarion call, we would like to understand what does it actually mean for somebody like I'm a college student, and I know that HCL talks about finding your spark, right? So for somebody who's starting his or her career at HCLTech, what does find your spark really mean, and how does HCLTech deliver on that brand promise? If I may use the term.
Sure, I think we need to talk about that. See, find your spark, and I personally like this concept, right? I think it's important both for your personal and professional right? So find your spark means discovering what energizes you, right? Where your strengths are, right? And how can you create meaningful impact through your work, right? That's the journey we are trying to do here, right? For fresher, it means that you do not have to have your entire career figured out on day one. That's good news, right? You don't have to figure out that, what am I going to do?
What will you be doing 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line?
Exactly. So we don't want you to figure it out, all right? So the idea is to enter with curiosity, right? All we want is your curiosity. Explore different opportunity, learn from people around you, and gradually discover what interests you, right? Now, it is largely, the Find Your Spark is largely built on three important ideas, right? Opportunity, respect, and trusted employment, right? So opportunity, what is opportunity? You getting the chance to learn, work on real problems, building new skills, and grow into different career paths, right? Next is respect. That's very important, right? Being valued, preferred, having a good learning journey, right? And wherever you do good, you're appreciated. And last, most importantly, trusted employment. It's mean building a career in an environment where employees are supported, guided, and encouraged to grow in confidence. So with all of these guidelines, what it does is that a fresher, he will probably, he or she will join by thinking coding is their only interest, right? But after working in real assignments, they may discover they enjoy solution design, they enjoy data analysis, they enjoy consulting, right? So this discovery that journey is what we call as find your spark. Once you find your spark, you will be able to do justice for you and the client and the company and the society. So that's what we mean by find your spark.
In a way, find your spark sounds like find your ikigai, something that you're good at, something that the world pays for, and something that is in demand. So
yeah, something which keeps you going, makes you wake up the next day and wanting to come to office.
And that's where the best work of your life will actually happen. And that's
Absolutely,
that's
right?
really when you said that it's really good for the company and the client, because what's good for you is good for the company and the client. It's a win-win-win in that sense. So does HCLTech have a structured sort of framework to allow everybody to experience this find your spark moment? In a sense, how do we create? How does HCLTech create opportunities for freshers to discover their spark?
No, as I was saying, right, I think fresher, when they come in, they are given a lot of empowerment in terms of what they want to do, right? In fact, we start this very early in the hiring cycle, right? So the way we do it is that we ask the students, hey, what you are interested in, right? So you apply for what you're interested in, right? There is no, there's an again a transparency there. If you are into full stack, you apply for full stack, right?
Okay.
I will test you in full stack. I will train you in full stack. I will evaluate in your full stack. I will make you work in full stack, right? So that transparency starts there and the journey starts there. As a fresher, I know the moment I write my test, this is where I'm going to go, right? You experience that. You go work real life problems. You work with the client. You understand what's happening. And then if you feel that, full stack is not something I'm interested for, you can't say that immediately after joining, right? You should give it some time, right? Once you experience that and you feel that your spark is more of doing something else, we have a very clear policy in our system where it says that 18 to 24 months, if you're doing one work and you want to move on, there is a structured path which they follow, they can move on, right? So it is from their right before hiring to they joining into doing projects. There's a lot of avenues where they can find the spark. Once they find the spark, there are teams and systems in place which can help them guide how they can chase that spark. And the spark is not work alone, right? I think we also say that find your spark in what you do outside of work, right? There are a lot of spark clubs you can be part of. If your spark is photography, you can do that as well. Spark is not one thing; it's multiple things. It can be multiple things. It's not work alone.
It's amazing to hear about this philosophy at such a large organization. I can imagine this being implemented as a small organization, being possible to implement a small organization. But HCL Tech employs more than 200,000 people, right? And for them to sort of pick this as a employer branding, employer value proposition, and sort of be delivered on that sounds very inspiring and sounds like a place that I would want to work at.
Absolutely. I think I urge all these students who are looking at this this webinar, go see our website. You will find those sparks. There are testimonies given by employees, and there is a separate section where you can find those sparks, glittering in our website. So go see it for yourself.
I'm sure after listening to all this, many students are excited to join HCL Tech.
Absolutely.
What should the preparation plan? What should they start doing today, and what should they stop doing?
Yeah, I think it might be repetitive again, but let me reiterate. I think it's good if I reiterate. They will understand it better, right? I'm repeating. Start fundamentals. Start practicing coding, aptitude regularly. Start improving communication. Start taking projects seriously, right?
Yeah.
Start following technology trends. Start following our leaders. Start following HCLTech or any other company, right? That's the way you will understand technology, what's happening in the world. What do you need to stop? Stop last-minute preparation. Stop copying resumes. Stop collecting certificates without learning, right? You can have 1,000 certificates. If you don't learn, no use, right? And stop assuming communication does not manage for engineers. So these are the few things that you should keep in mind.
I'm glad you spoke about certificate, because that's a real trend that I see at Internshala also. A lot of students, when they come to Internshala, say, why do you want to do an internship or a course? Because our college wants us to have a certificate.
Right? Yeah. Seriously. So that's something many companies are not giving any importance to, right? I think it's really what you know about the certificate rather than the certificate itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think which is what you spoke about, that you should be able to explain what you've done to an interviewer. And if your knowledge is only surface level, superficial, that will just come across that will get found very quickly.
True.
Right. Okay. Heading to the next question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, in interest of time, should we take a few questions?
I'll just have one last question for
Okay,
you,
sure, sure.
and then maybe we'll go to the audience and ask questions from
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Uh, so far, the focus has always been on how do I get my first job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how do I get my placement, and which is where I think most of people will still be thinking about. But how do you choose a job in a way, or a first employer in a way that builds long-term value, long-term growth, and not just a short-term outcome? How do I decide? Let's say I have a choice today of two jobs, and so I cleared the first hurdle of getting a job. Now I have two choices, right? How do I choose the first employer who will give me the long-term growth and not just the immediate paycheck I'm focused on right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? It's for me, it's really rewarding that I joined HCLTech as a fresher. It's my first job.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's nearly 22 years now, and it's
Oh
really
wow!
satisfying and fulfilling. I'm glad that I chose HCL as my first job, right? But yeah, so I think the way I saw it is this, right? I think first job should not be chosen by salary alone. That's the first mistake everybody do. Yeah, salary does matters, right? Nobody's going to, saying enthusiasm alone can pay rent. Salary is important, but that should not be the only deciding factor, right? I think the first few years are very, very important for a fresher. The first few years is going to shape your foundation, the discipline that you have to continue, confidence, and learning habits. All these are determined in the first few years of what you're going to do in a company, right? Now, what should student ask, right? If there are two jobs, what should the student ask themselves, right? They should ask, what will I get a structured learning, right? Will I work on meaningful projects? Does the company has a bunch of meaningful projects? Will I be exposed to large clients? What kind of clients the company is exposed to? What kind of international footprint the company has? What kind of technologies the company is working on, right? What are the professional standards? Are they ethical? I would urge you, go read their, even if you don't understand their,
Meaning.
balance sheet,
Hmm.
go use Google to understand the balance sheet and see how good they are performing, right?
Hmm.
So all these are very important, right? You need to join a stable company, which is going to give you that foundation, which is going to give you that learning exposure, technology exposure. All of them will happen, and it's very important for you to start your first job, right? Uh, uh, see, a slightly higher starting salary may not attractive, but company that gives you strong training, real project exposure, mentoring, career mobility may create much higher long time value. Now, how do I understand? How do I know all of
How
this?
do I assess this? I mean, as a student.
Exactly, right? So I know a lot of you guys go and attend the pre-placement training just for attendance, right? No, just on a lighter note, but you have wealth of information coming into you during those pre-placement talks, right? While companies was going to talk good about what they do, but it will give you a sense of whatever I spoke about, right? What is their footprint? What is their focus in terms of which are the regions they have business in? If one region collapses, can they use the other regions to stand up, right? How have they been treating employees in the past? So all of this information, you need to do that hard work, right? And you've done the hard work of clearing the test, or you're clearing your thing. You have to do a hard work of studying the company and understanding what is there, and take an informed decision. Just not go purely by salary. That's all I want to say. And I think it's like choosing between fast food and fitness, right? It's easy to choose fast food, but fitness is going to give you a long-term strength.
Yeah.
So that's how I'll put it.
That's a beautiful analogy, and I think it's just not about the salary, as you rightly said. And it's just, and by studying the company, I mean that no, it's just not the company that is selecting you. You're also selecting the company. So the way they have interviewed you and analyzed you as a candidate and evaluated you as a candidate, you should also evaluate the company as the right as an employer. And if
Very
that
well said. Very well said.
it fits into your frame of it's right for me is then when you make that decision.
Absolutely. See, it's important, right, that we spoke about how the definition of hireability is changing, right? To sum up the entire discussion, what we have, please make a note of this formula. It's going to help you prepare and be more hireable, right? So hireability is equal to problem solving into fundamentals plus projects into practical thinking plus communication into attitude, right? All of the six we've discussed in all of our discussions. I'm summarizing in form of a formula, right? Probably if Sarvesh, if you can put this formula in whatever you're publishing, if it helps us.
I'll write it down again.
Right? So let's break it down, right? Problem solving into fundamentals, and into and plus are there for a reason. I'll explain why. Right?
Okay.
What is problem solving, right? We spoke about it. How do you think, break complex problems into smaller parts, logical reasoning, not guesswork? That's problem solving. What is fundamentals? We spoke again. You need to have the basics, core concepts, engineering concepts. That's very important, right? Why problem solving into fundamentals? Because if you're good at fundamentals and you know you don't have a problem solving skills, you are a bookworm, right? We don't need bookworms, right? If you're good at problem solving and have no fundamentals, you are more a trial and error coder. We don't need trial and error coder. What we need is both who's an engineer, right?
Okay.
So problem solving into fundamentals, one is zero, then
Zero.
the hireability goes down and
Right.
there is nothing happening. Now let's see the next set of formula, right? That's a plus, and then project into practical thinking, right?
Project into practical thinking.
Practical thinking, right? Projects is proof of work. We spoke about it. You know, you should have built real application. You should be able to say, I built this, I broke it, I fixed it. Here is what I learned. That's what you talk about projects, right? Now, practical thinking. What is practical thinking, right? All of this, whatever you study, fundamentals, projects, and all what we've done. Practical thinking is what the industry is, what industry mindset is, right? You should know if you build a app, you should know that what if the users increase. You need to know the edge cases, right? What if the API fails? So that's practical thinking. You need to have practical thinking, right? Either of this is zero, then your hireability goes down. You need to have done projects, you need to have fixed things, and you need to have practical thinking on how will I handle edge cases, right?
So why is the multiplication here? Project and practical thinking.
Again, if it's one is zero, then the whole thing is zero. And if it reduces your sum total, it's going to reduce.
Correct.
Right? Any small reduction in any of this, your hireability, if you judge it on a 100 marks basis, the lesser it is, the lesser your hireability.
The prospects are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Now, the last part of it, and very important, communication into attitude. Right. We spoke about communication, and we spent a lot of time. It's very important. It's how you express it. Right. Now, attitude is another very important thing. Right. It is how you behave. Right. We don't want people who say that I know everything. I want people say that you give me anything, I will learn from it. Right. That's attitude. Right. Communication without attitude is also a risk, right? If you're good at communication, if you're not good at attitude, then it's a team risk. You're going to work in teams. If you're not going to work in teams, if you have an attitude problem, again, it's a red flag for the recruiter. So, in all, if you want to be a good, hireable resource, you need to have all of this, and it's a multiplication and plus. Any of this going down and up, it's going to impact your hireability percentage. If you are able to hit 100% and you evaluate yourself very sincerely, honestly, then you don't have to worry about getting hired.
So these six are the mantras that they should remember: problem solving, fundamentals, project, practical thinking, attitude, and communication.
Absolutely.
After these six, your placement is sorted.
Got it.
Absolutely. Right. Just for the purpose of a lot of students who are joining us late, I just want to, I know we have spoken about learning agility, building project and communication, but I think this one standard the students should hold themselves to over the next 3 months when they're preparing for the placements. What should that framework be?
That's what I said. I think the hireability framework is what I would say that they will hold to, right? I think if they are able to focus on all of this, right? Next, I think we spoke about 6 to 8 weeks plan as well. In all of that plan, it's all about you having that mind shift, right? Saying that, you know what, I'm a gold medalist. I'm a rank holder. I should be hired, right? I mean, there's no way that the company is not going to hire me, right? So I don't want that kind of a complacency set in, right? I think you need to think that we spoke about a lot of changes which are happening in the industry, the lot of shift which is happening in terms of assessments, right? Gone are the days we are doing a paper pen test or a aptitude test which will decide whether you're getting a hire or not. It's going to be a lot of experiential hiring. They're going to look at you. The hackathons, for example, hackathons were always used for competition. Now they are getting used for hiring.
Okay.
Because that's a real close way to judge you, observe you over a period of time. It's also bringing in that fairness, right? And earlier days it was one interview, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, you just make that decision. Now it's experiential hiring. So given all of this, I think what you need to do is have a mindset shift and follow the formula diligently. And if you're able to follow the formula diligently and give a lot of thought about it and do research analysis, whatever you want, take help from AI to understand how you can improve all of this, then you have a fair chance in terms of getting hired.
Well spoken, Prasath. Thank you so much for sharing this with our students. Prasath, we come to an end to this session, but is the last message that you want to leave the audience with in terms of one final advice?
Yeah, I think, I think I'll have to repeat myself if I had to give my last. I think I've spoken enough on.
Like a final word, a line, not the entire paragraph.
So I would want to say that, do not prepare only to get an offer letter, right? Prepare to deserve that opportunity after you receive it, right? Because offer letter is just a start. You need to be prepared to ensure that you deserve that opportunity, and something which is not given to you by luck, right? So, and if you can do that with strong fundamentals, real project, clear communication, and right attitude, you're not just placement ready, you're genuinely hireable.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful shift of frame that deserve the placement that you seek.
Absolutely.
And I think once you know that you deserve this, it will automatically happen for you. On that note, thank you so much, Prasath, for sharing such an insight, full and practical advice for us with our students today. It has been, I speak on behalf of the community when I say that this has been very enlightening conversations. I know placements is a very stressful season for the students, but hearing this directly from you as to how they should prepare for their placement must give them a lot of comfort and confidence, and hopefully they lace the placements when they join the campus back in June or July. Thank you so much for your time today, Prasath. Really enjoyed this conversation, and I wish you all the best for your upcoming hiring season. And I wish all the best to the students who are preparing for the placements. I hope you crack the dream jobs and roles that you've been aiming for. All the very best.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.